As a small business owner, you have questions. Will my cash flow cover expenses? How do I get understandable, actionable reports about my business? What is the best option for raising capital? Clarity CFO is your finance partner that thinks like an entrepreneur. We're all about helping you improve cash flow, meet opportunities with confidence, and grow your business. Visit our website at www.claritycfo.com to receive a free review of your business metrics and to start getting answers to your questions. Cash flow, confidence, growth. Visit claritycfo.com today.
Small business owners and CEOs, where do you turn for objective counsel on your most critical business decisions? How do you assure your personal growth as a CEO? How do you get an unbiased review of your plans and strategic direction? What provisions are you making for perpetuation of your business beyond yourself? For over 20 years, CEO Builder has been the answer to these questions for many Utah CEOs. Join us for a complimentary forum or coaching session through our website at www.ceobuilder.com.
As a small business owner, you are not just building a business, you're building a legacy. Let the attorneys at Callister, Nebaker, and McCullough counsel and assist you as you navigate the legal complexities of organizing, financing, and operating a successful business. At Callister, Nebaker, and McCullough, we build, cultivate, and defend legacies. Your business, your family, your future. To learn more about how we can help, call 801-530-7300 or visit us online at cnmlaw.com. That's cnmlaw.com.
It's tough for small businesses to keep up with all the new regulations, the new healthcare law, employee handbooks, human resources, OSHA safety, employment discrimination and harassment, business insurance, workers' compensation. It is all so complicated. Most business owners are doing their best just to make a small profit. If there were only a simplified way to manage all of this, now there is. Summit Risk Management and Insurance can show you how. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Good morning, Utah small business owners. Welcome to the Small Business Hour with your hosts, Mark Hunter and Chris Brown. It's time for your business to go from small to large.
Good morning, Utah small business owners. This is Chris Brown with my good friend Mark Hunter for the Utah Small Business Hour here on K-Talk, where our goal is to support, promote, and educate Utah small businesses so that they can grow and thrive and continue on into the next generation. Who's our sponsors this week, Mark?
Yeah, great, Chris. It's Clarity CFO, your finance partner. They help with cash flow, raising capital, and providing understandable reports about your business. You can reach them at claritycfo.com. Also, my good friend Dave Bevan over at ADP Payroll. He can be reached at 1-800-422-3705. I've known Dave for a number of years, and he helps a lot of our clients with payroll and other employee solutions.
Thanks, Mark. And as always, we really appreciate our sponsors. The program wouldn't be possible without them. And if you'd like to learn more about Mark or I or our program or our upcoming workshops, which we'll be kicking off here in about 6-8 weeks or so, you can go to our website, which is www.small2large.com, and that's the number 2 in the middle, so small2large.com, and that's where you can find all sorts of information about our program and all the things that we're doing to try and help support, educate, and promote Utah-based small businesses. So for today's show, we've got Rob Wellman from Social 5, which is a Utah-based company that helps small and large organizations with their social media presence, something that, as we mentioned last week, we've seen some companies do an amazing job at social media and other companies maybe not do such an amazing job. And we're really sort of interested in hearing from Rob and learn a little bit about why social media is such a hot topic today, why it's important for businesses, and then hear about some of the things that companies are doing and how they can use social media effectively. So welcome to the show, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's just get started. I mean, 10 years ago, your business, it wasn't even a thought, was it?
No, that's certainly for sure. The whole digital movement is new, and social media did not exist 10 years ago.
So from that standpoint, I guess that you didn't enter a field where there was necessarily a ton of competition, but people were on social media already when you started your firm. So tell me a little bit about what you guys do on social media that's maybe different from what a company might do on their own.
Yeah, good question. Well, social media certainly is a tsunami that's sweeping across our globe, and a lot of the big companies have internal marketing resources to take advantage of trends like social media. Small business owners don't have internal resources and the capability really to do it effectively themselves. And so our business is focused on helping the small entrepreneur harness the power of social media.
And I mean, social media is powerful. We see on network news programs now where they want people to tweet or hashtag, or it almost seems that it's everywhere. And even in traditional media, social media has become a big component. So why do you think social media is so important for a business today?
Yeah, social media really is here to stay. In fact, you mentioned tweet and some of these other social channels. Twitter just went through its 7th anniversary, and they have almost 1 billion users on Twitter. And since its inception, 300 billion tweets. So take that number. And so that's just one example. And why is it working? Well, primarily because 84% of people trust a friend, and only 14% of people trust an advertiser. So if you can have a social media presence with assets that are shareable, then you can create peer recommendations, which is a lot more trusting than just advertising your business.
Now that kind of brings something to mind. I've noticed over the past year or so that it almost seems like some businesses are promoting themselves on social media in a way that it looks like maybe it was your friend or something that was posting an article. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about where people are legitimately sharing and promoting things?
Well, both happen, but you certainly want it to be done legitimately. You want to provide assets that properly represent your company, so when someone tries to refer you, they do it accurately. That's part of the key to social media, is having assets that are shareable, accurate, that people want to share with their friends. If you do that well, then you've harnessed the power of social media.
Right. So they're more likely to click on that link or read that article because a friend of theirs found it interesting, whatever it might be.
Right. And if that tweet was originated from you, every time it's forwarded, your brand goes with it. So then you get this exponential exposure just to your brand because you're the originator of that tweet. So original, interesting content on any social channel really matters.
So Rob, I've got a question for you. So how does that impact, say, a business to business versus a business to consumer scenario?
Yeah, it's a good question. There are 416 social media channels today.
And we haven't heard of most of them, I assume.
Yes, that's probably true. In fact, I'll give you the top few, and then I'll answer your question, Mark. In fact, the most popular social media platform is still email.
And see, right. I wouldn't have even thought of that as being social media.
Exactly.
Okay.
And very few people utilize email in a responsible way. And when I mean responsible, we've all had spam, right? An overindulgence of people's propaganda. So there's a frequency to each social channel. The number 2 social channel is Facebook.
Okay,
that
makes sense.
1.3 billion users. And actually 1 out of every 7 minutes online is spent on Facebook. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's a reality. Well, so you say, as a small business owner, if 1 out of every 7 minutes online is on Facebook, you do want to have a presence. Now, when it comes to B2B, LinkedIn is very adept for B2B, where Facebook has its place on B2B, but really works well on B2C.
But I'm on both, and I spend almost no time on LinkedIn because it just it almost seems like people are spending too much time self-promoting on LinkedIn, and it doesn't have the interest that like on Facebook I might see an interesting news article, but I might also see like a cat video, which I don't understand. But anyway, people like cat videos. It seems that the randomness almost seems to be what makes it more interesting to people, that they've got all these different types of things happening that they can plug into.
Yeah, there is a truth to that. It doesn't have the same sophistication as you might have had on other communication mechanisms like television or radio or billboard. But what you have to remember is that those that do effectively stand out in the crowd. And so that's really the key. If I'm a business owner, what are the best practices to effective social media execution, and what things should I avoid? That really is the question. It's not a question of should I be there. It's how do I do it responsibly. In fact, let me say it this way. 15 years ago, the question was, do I need a website?
Sure.
Today, you don't ask that question. It's a cost of doing business today. We're really at the same tipping point with social media. It's not a matter if you have a presence, it's how well will you execute it. And I'll just say this, that social media is a weapon of mass destruction if it's
sure.
in the wrong hands, right?
Well, we've seen, employees of some huge companies who have just posted ridiculous, idiotic, insensitive, you name it, things that have I think probably caused some serious damage for the business. So how do you ensure that you're using social media effectively while limiting some of those risks of that kind of mass explosion that we've seen with some companies?
Yeah, I think another example of that is the athletes, right? We see that all the time where someone incriminates themselves by poor use of social media.
Yes. Think before you tweet, right?
Yeah, and I think that is really, have a plan, right? Just because it's free to turn on a Twitter account or a LinkedIn account or a business Facebook page, you really need to have a strategy. It needs to be part of your marketing mix. Let me give you a couple of tips on Facebook. One, you would never open a retail store without having the signage and the graphics looking the way that you wanted them to have someone come in your store. Well, it's no different on social media. You need to make sure it looks good graphically, that it's consistent with your website. You don't just turn it on and look reckless. So that's one tip, to just graphically enhance it. Maybe another tip on Facebook is to utilize the tabs. This is beachfront real estate, that you can create a portal from those tabs to your website or to other digital assets. And so very few people utilize the tabs effectively, and that's beachfront real estate. And then let me mention this, when it comes to the content, the most popular type of content on Facebook is an image.
Sure.
Followed by a video, then status and links. So if you're going to embark on social media, you want to have good images as well as video. And this is a place you also need to be careful, because if you grab images that you don't have the legal rights to, you're going to quickly receive a letter from Getty Image indicating that you've infringed upon their image and you've got a challenge. So utilizing the content in a copyright responsible way is part of why you need to slow down a little bit before you launch into social media.
Not just post any random picture that you found on your page for, like you say, a huge company like Getty to be unhappy about. And I've noticed that images are popular with businesses. A couple of the companies that I follow on Facebook, I'm thinking of some airlines in particular, try to kind of post witty or interesting images. I assume that they're purchasing those. I'm not quite sure where those are coming from, but they're unique, so at least it gets your attention. What other tips do you have on image use on social media?
Well, you made a good point there. Humor is an important part of social media and having a personal touch. In fact, we tell businesses that only 60% of what you put on social media ought to be about your service or your product. The other part should be current affairs, maybe some pop culture. Hey, the new Iron Man movie came out. How do I twist that in? Or we just had, the world soccer games, right? With the World Cup. How do you twist that into what you're saying? And so this 60-40 rule is a good tip. In fact, Verizon just won an award for being a problem poster because they had too much promotional information about their product. That's one tip to avoid, is not too much promotional information about your product or service.
Now, you brought up something that, kind of I wonder about, which is when you've got the World Cup or a movie or something like that you'd like to maybe tie into to generate some interest. I mean, is there risk there that whoever it is you're talking about, I mean, it seems like the NFL is always suing somebody for infringing. I mean, generally speaking, as long as you're just talking about it, is that generally pretty safe for a business to do?
Yeah, pretty safe there. And think of it this way: large organizations have pretty good resources to do this well. In fact, I was thinking about one of the great companies in our country that's utilizing social media well, and that's Nike. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last 5 years, they really haven't been on television. They've built a new office called the Jerry Rice Building on campus, and they've completely shifted to social media. And they've said they're not going to spend $4 million for a 30-second Super Bowl commercial to reach 200 million users, because they're doing it day online. And my point here is that large companies like Nike have marketing resources to be aware of the trends. And this is where a small business owner needs to be wise. You need to be safe in your execution of your social media strategy.
Well, I was going to ask about that. So what size of a company should be really concerned about social media? Because, you've got small businesses out there that they're not competing against a Nike. There's no way they can compete against a Nike. But in their own space, how are they using social media?
Yeah, really good question. Social media is built for the small business owner. The problem is, they haven't had the expertise and the understanding to harness it the way the big business does. Social media allows the small guy to participate and get a voice and to get noticed in a way they've never been able to do before. You think about what their options are today. It's television, it's radio, it's a billboard, it's the yellow pages. Social media in the digital world's perfect for them, and they can get a voice and a presence that they could never get before utilizing social media effectively. And the cost for it is dramatically different. That's why it's a perfect storm for the small business owner that does it in an effective way.
Okay, so a small business owner could get into it at a much lower price level than say a big business might, with other types of campaigns that a small business would get into.
Right. You don't see small businesses on television, right?
Right.
Or if you do, it's on like cable access, and it's not very good, so they probably should have spent their money somewhere else, I think, sometimes. And I guess that's the thing, is social media in a way, maybe it equalizes that a small business who uses it well can have a similar image as a really large one.
Exactly. Think of it this way. It is a disruptive movement. It's changing everything. And anytime there's a disruptive movement, there's an opportunity to gain market share and exposure that you didn't have in the prior environment. And it's happened with every communication tool. In fact, let me give you a stat. It took radio 38 years to reach 50 million listeners. And then it took television 13 years to reach 50 million viewers. Then it took the internet 4 years to reach 50 million users. And it took Facebook 9 months to reach 100 million users. My point is, a small business can leverage this disruptive movement in a way that changes everything. And I can give you some more examples of that in a minute if that's helpful.
Yeah, sure. As soon as we come back from the break, I'd really like to hear some interesting examples from small businesses, because that is definitely our target on the program, is how small businesses can leverage a technology like social media to better compete and stand out from the crowd. And I'm really anxious to hear about that. So we'll catch you on the back end of this break and get into some more specifics on how businesses can leverage social media to their advantage in a really changing marketplace.
He's just made in America.
There are 5 key questions every successful business owner asks every day. How can we increase innovation? How can we reduce operating costs? How can we grow our sales and market share? How can we create new products and stay cutting edge? And how can we improve our cash flow? By Monday's Howcanology web app answers all of those questions by empowering your employees to become valuable, producing entrepreneurs. Contact By Monday at 801-225-1600 to learn more about Howcanology.
As a small business owner, I have struggled with controlling my workers' compensation costs. Some of my injured workers have really taken advantage of the system, costing me an arm and a leg, no pun intended. I finally found someone who can help, Summit Risk Management and Insurance. They have saved my company thousands of dollars on my insurance costs and have improved my safety program. I recommend them to any business owner. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
If you own a small business, you've experienced problems with technology. Lost files, server crash, blue screen of death. It always means one thing, an IT nightmare that keeps you from running your business. IT Now keeps those IT nightmares at bay. IT Now is the leading provider of professional IT services for small and medium businesses. Call IT Now today for a free network evaluation, and soon you could be nightmare-free and experience the bliss of things running as they should. 801-562-8778.
Phil, your golf game is amazing. Where do you find the time?
I've been using ADP for my business, the world leader in payroll services. I manage my payroll, retirement plan, and HR all on my iPad, mobile app, or with a quick phone call. It's easy and really affordable.
I'm just so busy. Sounds great. How do I get a quote?
Call Dave at 800-422-3705. He's been with ADP here in Utah for 15 years.
Thanks. That number was 800-422-3705.
Okay, we're back with Rob Wellman from Social 5, and we were talking a little bit about generalities before the break. And while we were on break, I was thinking about my social media use and what I've tried to do in my small business, and frankly, I just never even know what to put on there. I end up just putting emails on there practically. It's not really very exciting, and so I'd be really interested in hearing from you, kind of some cases of businesses that have done it really well, including some small ones. I mean, that's definitely of interest. And then I'd also like kind of hearing what the mix would look like of all the different platforms out there for a business who's just getting started, or for a business that needs to reset, that maybe has kind of gotten into social media and they were posting cat videos and now they want to do it right.
Let me give you an example that I think many individuals here can relate with. In the Salt Lake City market, there are several television stations, Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 4. And about 4 years ago, they all had about the same number of followers on Facebook. Channel 2 decided that they were going to bet that through this disruptive movement of Social 5, they could really make inroads.
And Social 5 is your company, just to remind our viewers.
Yeah, I'm sorry, through social media. I said Social 5, but they'd made a bet that through social media, they could utilize this disruptive movement to surpass Channel 5, which has never been beaten in this market. They took their Facebook followers from 4,000 to 400,000 fans. So they had more people on Facebook than they had on their morning, afternoon, and evening news combined. In fact, you could take the NBC station in Chicago, New York, California, combine them together, and Channel 2 had more followers. So what happened then is all the advertisers wanted to be on Facebook, and it propelled them to the #1 television station in this market, which has never been done before. My point is, they made a bet on a disruptive technology, and it changed the game for them that they've been trying to do for decades. The same thing can happen for a small business owner that leverages a disruptive technology, and we've seen it throughout history, not just social media, but when you leverage a disruptive technology or a disruptive movement, it can change the game for you. So that's one example of how a business did it. When we get to specifics about small businesses, let me give you another example. There's a collision repair organization in the Utah market. They have 3 locations. They repair 600 cars a month. A very nice business. And they were advertising on billboards. They were in the Yellow Pages. And by the way, if there are any listeners today still in the Yellow Pages, get out.
Do they even still distribute Yellow Pages? I mean, it seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and I don't know when the last time is I've even looked at one.
And you'd be amazed how many people are still advertising in the yellow pages. But they did coupons, they did all kinds of things. So we put together a social media presence for them. And one of the tools that we put in place was an application that someone would fill out a questionnaire when they've completed a car repair. 4 questions, took them 2 minutes. And once they're done filling that out, it asks if they're willing to leave a comment about their experience. If they click yes, this business sends them a red box, costs them $1 for that testimonial.
Okay.
Half of the people are filling out this survey.
Now, this is a paper survey or electronic survey?
It's an electronic survey on Facebook,
Okay.
on the tab on Facebook.
Okay.
So it takes them 2 minutes to fill it out. Once they're done, there's a question that says, will you share your experience with your friends?
Okay.
They click yes, and a red box coupon is sent to them, $1 red box coupon. So they have an incentive. Automatically sent to them. Let me put this in perspective. They repair 600 cars a month. 300 of those people are filling out the survey.
So it's $1 each. I mean, it's
$300
Yeah.
for an incentive to get the testimonial. Now, with that, everybody has 200 plus friends on Facebook. This business is getting 60,000 impressions a month in their geo-targeted market about, yes, use Cascade Collision for my auto repair. So you can see the impact. They've cut out yellow pages. They're off the billboard. They're not wrapping buses. And their business is up dramatically. And they would attribute a lot of that to harnessing social media to get their customers telling other customers about them.
And that's a very small business.
Very small business.
That's awesome.
And so just tell me mechanically, so when someone does that, and so I'm friends with Mark, and Mark uses that service, and he clicks share, what does that look like to me on my end as Mark's friend? Does it look like it's coming from the company or from Mark, or, you know, I'm just wondering the appearance of that, because I would think if you do it right, then it appears like a genuine thing. But if you do it wrong, it probably not so much.
Yeah, and that's one of the tricks. It has to come from you. 84% of us trust a friend. Only 14% trust advertising. So what happens is it's a pre-populated message. Very simple. Had my car repaired here. The quality was fantastic. Very friendly. These guys are super. Whatever that is. That message is automatically populated, and they click a button to post it on their personal Facebook page. So it's coming from them.
Okay.
And so this allows us to harness everybody that's willing to get a peer recommendation, but we systematically do it.
And it's not one of these deals where all of a sudden you've given them permission to constantly post on your page like some of the apps that are out there, because I think that's just annoying when some friend has agreed to something on some app and it's constantly posting on Facebook. That's not what
that's
this is
irresponsible.
Yeah.
It's a one-time post of their experience with this business.
So that's a good example of a business to consumer. Do you have an example by chance of a business to business scenario?
Well, let's talk about the same example, business to business. This collision repair organization has paint suppliers. They have tool suppliers. They're business to business. What's happened in their partnership ecosystem is that they've really been able to negotiate better pricing because they have a bigger presence. So the same applies to their business to business relationship. So don't think that social media is only for business to consumer. We all have an ecosystem of people that we operate in. And from a business to business perspective, there are still great tricks to leverage social media.
Well, and I kind of liken that to some of these companies that you see on television. IBM advertising supercomputers, or Lockheed Martin advertising. I can never figure out what they're advertising, but they're not selling.
But these
products.
are also big businesses.
No, but my point is that they're not trying to sell their products to any particular consumer, but they just recognize that raising brand awareness ultimately, I think, is going to help their business, because consumers also work at companies.
Yeah.
And make decisions at companies as well.
I think one of the things I think is important to remember about social media, everybody thinks of new marketing strategies as a way to drive lead generation. And all that's true. Social media is not this hardcore drive leads, hurry and close. It's an engagement with your customer base that builds a personal touch and loyalty. I'll give you another example. Many businesses, for example, a realtor, They close a house every 7 years. I just spoke to the president of the National Association of Realtors that said 84% of all home buyers and sellers would like to use a prior realtor, but don't because they've lost contact. So by staying connected with someone through social media, when the time is right, they're going to be top of mind.
They at least know where you're at and how to get a hold of you. So back to your comment earlier about, the things that a business, or actually it was my question about a business who's getting started or starting over in social media. Just real quickly, give us, the platforms that are out there and maybe where a business should focus most of their attention.
If I were a new business, or if I were a business wanting to embark on social media, I would utilize 4 tools as a base. First would be email. Utilizing the email database in a responsible way. And when I say responsible, I'm talking about frequency and the type of information that you put in it. Email is once a month. It ought to be short, it ought to be sweet, and there ought to be links to more information if they want to explore it. Newsletter is old school. You don't just dump information on people. So that's why I would use email. The second thing I would use is Facebook. It's clearly here to stay. So I would have a Facebook strategy. I would have a blog strategy. A couple of times a month for a blog. Facebook 3 to 5 times a week. And that blog's a more in-depth article that shows you as a thought leader in the business that you're operating.
Is that sort of linked to from Facebook so that someone who maybe finds the little snippet of interest on Facebook is then directed to your blog?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can tease your blog on Facebook. And you brought up a very important point. In the digital world, we have something that we call an echo chamber, where you have assets bouncing off of each other. Right? So your Facebook can link to your website, can link to your Twitter, can link to your blog, and you want to interoperate all those together. So I would have email, Facebook, a blog, and then I would implement Twitter or LinkedIn. Those would be the tools that I would implement.
Back on the email, are these emails that are, you mentioned you wouldn't do a newsletter, so sometimes you'll get emails that contain newsletters. No?
No, on the email, I would provide a link to your blog if they want to learn more. Again, social media is opt-in. You don't force it on someone, right? So you're going to provide teasing information that draws them back into other digital assets that you have. That's the way you want to act with your customer.
Well, I know that we found in our email campaigns that definitely frequency, you can overdo it and get that unsubscribe so quickly if you don't pace yourself and like you say, do it responsibly so you're not constantly harassing people. Just a couple other things. We've got about 4 minutes left. So you hear all this stuff in the news that Facebook, earlier you said Facebook is here to stay, but then in the news we'll always hear about Facebook is dying and it's now going to be Snapchat or Instagram, or I don't even know what they're all called. But what's to that? Is Facebook going to stay relevant to millennials and their younger brothers and sisters, or is it changing?
Well, it's a good question. You might have remembered MySpace. Several years ago, it was the top dog. It's really non-existent today. And part of the reason for that is all the kids left and there wasn't business commerce there.
Right.
And that's one of the interesting things about Facebook is the kids are leaving because mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are there.
Oh,
and they've gone to Instagram and to Snapchat, but it's become a business tool. And so that's why it's different. And again, who knows who's going to be here today?
Sure.
Pinterest didn't exist 2.5 years ago. It's actually the number 3 social media channel. And those of you
that one completely confuses me. My wife does it all the time, and it just seems to be pictures of things.
Very female dominant, and it is having a significant impact. And so my point is that social media channels are going to come and go and adapt, but it doesn't matter. Think of it like a television who has multiple channels. If Facebook dies and you have a good social strategy, there'll be something else there for you. In fact, we believe that if anybody could rival Facebook, it's probably Google Plus because of the muscle of Google behind it.
But that so far hasn't really panned out all that well, has it?
Well, you'd be surprised. It doesn't have any users, but
a lot of businesses on it?
Tons of businesses.
Okay.
And that's because it utilizes that Google is now utilizing Google Plus in their algorithms for searches.
Oh.
And so if you have to play in the SEO game, you got to play with Google Plus. And they're amassing, and they might be able to make the shift to where the users actually participate.
Okay, well, we've only got less than 2 minutes left. I did want to touch real quickly on, so a business that wants to use professionals and an organization like yours who actually understands this and can provide professional content and not just, copied and pasted cat pictures. What kind of cost is involved in doing something like that?
Plus Twitter is that seems intimidating to me. So, I would think somebody would want to outsource that.
Yeah, so a business that utilizes us for their email strategy, their Facebook, their Twitter, and their blog would pay less than $3,000 a year.
So that's like one billboard.
Right, and I think that's what a business needs to think about. If I'm going to utilize social media as my marketing mix, what are my options? I can use a billboard, Yellow Pages, direct mailer. You're not going to find anything more cost-effective than social media. And so for $3,000 a year, we would say there isn't a better utilization of your marketing funds. And that doesn't mean you don't do other things, but it's a great utilization of funds.
And with that, they're getting a degree of professionalism that would probably be difficult to pull off on their own.
Yeah, no question. Our writers have written for USA Today or New York Times or they're the best writers in the world. And our account managers would give them tips on how to utilize the platform more effectively themselves. So yes, it's a good solution.
How do they get a hold of you really quick, Rob?
Well, social5.com, a company can fill out a social assessment, and one of our experts will contact them. And all of our phone numbers are right there on the website, social5.com.
Well, thanks so much for being with us, and we hope you can come back sometime and we can dive into more specifics on some of these issues.
It's time for this week's First Utah Business Spotlight.
Mark Hunter here, and now we're visiting with Eric Montague with Executech. He's the founder and president of the company. And Eric, just tell us a little bit about your company. I know you're an IT outsourcing company, so what exactly is that?
Companies that are large enough that they have a computer network, but that network is not large enough to suffice hiring full-time personnel. They outsource that to us instead of hiring full-time personnel to manage their technology needs.
So what type of a company would typically use your service? Is it a small company, a large company, a specific industry?
There's no industry that matters. Any industries, we service all industries. Most of our clients are under 100 users or less.
Okay, and the territory that you're servicing mainly?
From Logan to Nephi, and then we have offices in Seattle, Phoenix, and Grand Junction.
Why should a small business in Utah use an outsourced firm as opposed to having an in-house IT guy?
That's an excellent question. Most people think they need a full-time IT person, and the fact of the matter is they very likely can have an IT department more economically by choosing an IT outsource firm. In addition to that, by going with an IT outsource firm, they get an entire department, not just one person. So if you were a business owner of 50 employees, for example, you would look at an IT outsource firm instead of hiring your own in-house person, because with that in-house person, one, you only have one person. If he could die or get hit by a bus, or his wife's pregnant,
on vacation,
who knows what it could be. Going with a firm, you have an entire department. That helps for the coverage aspect. It also helps for the knowledge aspect. No one IT guy can do everything. Although IT guys are typically very confident, all of us are. We all think that we know everything about IT. Ultimately, that's not the case. Every IT person has limitations, and it's nice to have an entire department to help them. The last piece is just a knowledge transfer. So, having one person, you're at risk of something happening to that person and all of your IT knowledge walking out the door with him or her.
Yeah, good point.
And it's nice to have another company to have some depth of knowledge about your network.
Right. Okay. So I'm sure there's competitors out there. What maybe sets you apart from those competitors?
Great question. Most of our competitors require contracts. We do not. We retain our clientele by good service, not by legally binding them to a contract. We assign specific Tier 3 technicians to a specific client, which gives them great service because they're dealing with the person that ultimately fixes their problem. We are an award-winning company. We are the most awarded IT firm in Utah, and our staff are wonderful.
I know with some IT companies that sometimes they'll do the on-site kind of secondary as opposed to doing it over the phone or remote access. Is that how you work? How does your company function?
No, we are an on-site company first, remote second. So our technicians typically handle everything on-site at the client's offices. That doesn't mean we can't remote in. We can, and we have those capabilities with all of our clients. But we find that providing on-site technicians creates a better relationship between us and the client.
So does that cost more money then to your end customer that they've got somebody coming into their office and also that they're a Tier 3 person as opposed to a Tier 1 or Tier 2?
Great questions. Compared to our competition, we're actually typically more economical than our competition. So we provide the same great service on site with high-level technicians at a very economical rate.
Do you attribute that to the fact that you're able to get it done right the first time? Is that kind of the concept?
That, and most of our competition have account managers and management staff and expensive systems to be able to do the remote monitoring and the remote service. We find that by providing the correct Tier 3 person, the job gets done right. You don't have to wait a long time. I don't have account managers that are managing an account. You're dealing directly with either me or the technician. And so we get the job done and get it done economically.
The customer probably gets a good relationship with them then too. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's nice. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Eric. Eric Montague with Executech. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Are you frustrated about your sales performance? Do you have the right people on your team? Are you stuck at a routine in terms of business development? Sandler Training is a global leader in sales and business development training and has been creating solutions and accelerating the success of high achievers for over 30 years. If it's time to take your business to the next level, contact Sandler Training at 801-639-0488. 801-639-0488. Is your business struggling with the cost of an employer-sponsored health insurance plan? Learn how your business and employees may benefit from new rules under the Affordable Care Act. There's no reason for you to continue bearing this unnecessary cost. Call the experts at Summit Risk Management and Insurance, 801-671-2431. That's 801-671-2431. Learn more at www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
If your business doesn't have social and mobile marketing strategies in today's digital marketing place, then you're quickly getting left behind. Don't get left behind, get Social 5. Social 5's team of professional writers, graphic artists, and tech experts helps businesses with mobile, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, SEO, campaigns, contests, plus more. For a free consultation, go to social5.com. Don't be invisible in today's digital marketplace. Get Social 5.
It's tough for small businesses to keep up with all the new regulations, the new healthcare law, employee handbooks, human resources, OSHA safety, employment discrimination and harassment, business insurance, workers' compensation. It is all so complicated. Most business owners are doing their best just to make a small profit. If there were only a simplified way to manage all of this, now there is. Summit Risk Management and Insurance can show you how. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
Welcome back. Here's our second Utah Business Spotlight for the week.
Well, welcome back. This is Mark Hunter again, and I'm here today with Conrad Kolba. Is that right?
Conrad Kolba, yep.
And you're with Painting One by Colstar. So, Conrad, tell me a little bit about your company and what you do, and maybe a little bit of what sets you apart from, because there's lots of painting contractors out there.
I have been painting since I've been about 14. My dad had a bunch of properties that I was his slave for, and he would say, go fix that, go do this, and I kind of gravitated towards the painting because it was easy, and I got pretty good at it fairly quickly. We have been running our own painting business since about 1997. Through a couple of different names, but we've landed with Painter One right now, Painter One by Colstar. We primarily do residential repaints. So
is this like single-family homes?
Single-family homes, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
The insides,
they just want you to come in and redo things that they've...
Exactly.
Okay.
They're looking at their house and say, you know what, it looks like it needs a paint job, so we come in and we put in a coat of paint on it, or if they want to sell the house, or if they're getting it ready for a renter, or something like that, or if they've just bought a house. That's often where we're coming in, where or they've just bought the house and they want to make it their own.
Tell me what the differences are. I mean, you explained a little off air, but I'd like you, for our listeners, to help them understand what sets you apart, because there definitely are some distinguishing values.
Yep. It's almost an educational factor for the customer, because we explain things a lot as to why we do certain things, why this oil primer versus the latex primer, why this paint versus that paint, why we're doing this and then we do that and then we do this. So the customer is in the know of as to everything that we do and when we do it and why we do it. We found that most people don't understand what we do and why we're good at what we do, and why it only takes us a certain amount of time to paint a room, whereas it takes them, a day and a half or something. So we educate them at the same time as when we're painting. We also have very good procedures and processes through our business. So there are checks and balances throughout every single step of what we do. It's not just, okay, guys, here, go do the job, and they go do the job and they really don't know what's going on. We have specific walkarounds that we do with the customer, both before the project and after the project. We confirm colors with them. We go walk around with the painters to make sure that everybody's on the same page before starting.
And this is all documented.
It's all documented. And you'd be amazed at how many times the wrong room gets painted, or used to get painted before these processes were put into place. Or,
so your process has eliminated all that.
It eliminates a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion, and both on our side and also for the customer side. If you're not happy with the project, there's a reason, and we'll fix it before we get paid. And that's one of the checks and balances that we have, is what's called a punch list. At the end of every single job, the project foreman will walk around with the customer from room to room to room to room, or from the outside to make sure they'll look at everything that they can possibly look at to make sure that the customer is completely 100% satisfied. If they see anything, then we mark it down on the list, and we have somebody go and fix it. We bring the customer back, look, it's fixed, and they sign off on it. And once that punch list is fixed, then at that point, then we'd expect a payment, but not before that punch list is performed.
So what ensures your people are actually doing that communication, that proper communication?
I've actually got this little checklist that I give to every single one of our jobs, and it's called it's basically a checklist, and they're to call the customer every single day, at least once a day, just to give them an update as to where they're at, if they had run into any issues, if they're ahead of schedule, anything like that, any kind of update. There to give the customer, whether the customer's at the house or not, but it's a massive communication aspect that I feel is very, very important for that customer to know what's going on during the project.
Well, and it's hard to tell that to people up front so that they know that that's what you're going to supply for them, that communication. But 9 times out of 10, when someone's frustrated with a contractor, it's been my experience that it's because the communication has failed somewhere.
Yeah. So we've got our business set up well, that our guys understand the importance of customer service. All of them are very, they're well dressed. They're in their uniform. They all can communicate properly with you in the right languages. Another thing that sets us apart, though, is we've got a little estimating software that we've created, and whether you're in a $12,000 mansion or a $1,200 house, the prices aren't going to change from this or that. And everything is budgeted accordingly. If you want me to paint this wall in this house or this wall in that house, it doesn't really matter. It's going to cost the same. And it's the customer really likes that because they can go in and I've labeled everything by the room. What this room is going to cost versus that room versus that room versus that room. So they can pick and choose, okay, I want to paint this room, I want to paint that room, not this room, but this room and this room. And I can easily say, or they can easily ask me, okay, I want to take out the ceilings. Take out the ceilings and the prices add up appropriately. Whereas if it's all done by, okay, I got this room's going to cost $400.
You have to go back and then rebid it, and it's just a big time-consuming process.
It's an impossibility, yeah.
A lot of contractors, again, they're good maybe at what they do in construction, but they didn't necessarily start out as business folks.
Mm-hmm.
So they were working for another company, they did well at painting, let's say, and now all of a sudden they think they can start their own business, and now they're a business owner.
Yeah.
And so what sets your company apart that way?
It's we understand our business very well. We understand how many leads we need on a weekly basis to be able to get to our sales values at the end of the month.
Well, and these are the types of things that we're trying to do as on this radio show and in our workshops, is we're trying to help people understand what it takes to be a good business person and all the aspects. It doesn't just mean you're a good painter. It means you have to do 100 other things good as well.
Yeah. From my experience, there's basically 3 aspects of the business. 1 is the actual thing that you do, 2 is the marketing, and 3 is the financial side. But if you're able to put those 3 things together, you're going to have a viable business no matter what it is. Because if you're good at what you do, you're going to get, that's great, that's part of it. But if you can't market yourself to show people how good you are, it's not going to matter. If you can find people and then you make some money, but you're just going to blow it on a brand new truck or something like that, then you're not going to have the financial wherewithal to continue on with the circles, with the cycles of sales, to continue to market in your business or continue to invest in your business by marketing and have that cash flow to keep going with your business. And every single business, whether we like it or not, is cyclical.
All right. Well, Conrad, thank you for your time today, and appreciate you being on air with us, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back, and those were 2 really great businesses we spotlighted this week, Mark. I think they were, just once again, 2 totally different types of businesses and unrelated fields, but who are both innovating in their own ways. I mean, in particular, I think that Painter One, taking such a systematic approach to what often is not, I don't want to, be cruel to painters, but you don't typically think of painters as having a lot of systems and procedures and that sort of thing in place. And so it's neat to see that kind of business taking those steps.
Yeah, it's nice to see a company like that pull things together and really put an effort into making sure that they're doing good customer service.
Yeah, good customer service. I mean, good quality work. And, in the end, if you can bring all those pieces together, just like he said, then you can have a successful business. And then, of course, Executech, which has taken a very different approach to IT outsourcing, kind of, in a way, doing the opposite of what, some companies are doing now, which is trying to do most things remotely and focusing more on that in-person customer service.
Sure, hands-on.
And really in business, it's all about relationships, and, being on site is definitely a great way of building and improving relationships. So those were great segments. And then I also think that, what Rob had to say about social media was really interesting to me. I know that I've struggled with what to do on social media for my business, and I feel like I just sort of bounce around all over the place without a real consistent strategy. And I imagine there's plenty of other business owners who are in the same place.
I really think a lot of small business owners have issues with social media, how to incorporate that into what they're doing. And so I enjoyed that segment.
Yeah, and making it a central part of your overall marketing mix. We talk so much about marketing mix, and often we focus on like you said, billboards and television and that sort of thing. But for a lot of businesses, billboards and television just aren't really the right solution. They're expensive, and they may not be reaching the right customers. And so I think that was a very timely topic, and certainly one that a lot of business owners can benefit from. And especially, the thing that just so often, anything technological, what a business sometimes does is they just find somebody young and say, hey, you go and take care of our social media because you're young, about Facebook, right? And I think that's where we've seen some companies make some big fumbles on social media.
Yeah, I think what Rob's service brings to the table is nice. having somebody from an outsourced standpoint really help you hold your hand through the process is a good.
And bring a degree of professionalism that you might not be able to necessarily pull off on your own. So coming up next week, we've got Dave and Pete from Clarity CFO, who are going to be talking about something that's important to a lot of small businesses, which is the different ways that a business can capitalize and some of the different approaches that they can take, whether it be loans or selling off equity in the company or, my plan, Mark, is a Kickstarter campaign. I really think that I can make it big on there. So we'll see what they have to say about that. And anyway, that's the show, and everybody have a great day.